Moe Factz for August 12th, 2019. This is episode number 3. It's Moe Factz with Adam Curry. How you doing, Mo?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Adam?
I'm doing good, man. It's the weeks just seem to fly by.
I know. I look forward to Monday of every week.
The first Monday of every week, like the second Thursday, something like that. Yeah.
Right.
I have a couple of First of all, apologies about the iTunes for the show being available on iTunes. I submitted it, the RSS feed, and really weird. Somehow the account is so old. I haven't updated a podcast since I think since No Agenda started 11 years ago, and so somehow it was linked to a Dutch version of my Apple account, and so they got really confused. So I have to resubmit that. It should be searchable in the iTunes directory sometime this week. So that's on me.
Also, you can find the RSS feed at mofactz.com.
Yes.
It's been added to the webpage, so go check that out as well.
Definitely. And I got some good responses on the last show. How about you?
I got good responses, and then I also got some. I was being a little hard on the females, so I hope to bring some balance to the show on this episode.
Yo, what did you do? What did you do wrong?
I just told the truth, but I think they saw it as one-sided. But I just wanted to dedicate the majority of the show just focusing on how they're doing identity politics, and with that, you have to focus on the groups that are being targeted. Yes,
indeed. This was the whole conversation about how political parties are trying to split Black American men and women.
Correct.
And really almost pit them against each other. The feedback I got is a lot of people who had no idea about the man about the house rules, the 68 welfare. A lot of people were very, they said, wow, that was eye-opening. They liked that a lot.
Right. And I just think that was just a knee-jerk reaction, thinking it was going to be one-sided. But that was just the first show that we went into identity politics. So on this show, we hope to bring a little balance.
All right.
To show how the elite are targeting the Black community on both sides of the gender argument, and using the Boule, both male and female.
Okay. Well, I'm ready. Let's get the journey started.
All right. So just to finish off where we were headed last week, just showing on with Kamala Harris. And I'd like to say, first of all, me and Kamala Harris will always be tied at the hip of each other, because she kind of got me into this whole podcasting / speaking out, because as you know, I started out on the Star Report with Star, on his YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. Everybody should go check that out. And one of the first call-in shows was the whole Jussie Smollett case.
Which had ties to a lot of Chicago elite, but also to Kamala Harris.
Exactly. So that's how I got started, because I've actually a month ahead of time, I pointed out her connection with the whole alleged connection with the whole anti-lynching bill that was timed just so perfect with his actions, which
Cory Booker was also a part of.
Right, correct. So, and what struck me with that was with her tweet, it came out so fast. Usually politicians are very measured when they put their support behind people. But immediately those two came out and said, this looks like a modern day lynching. So in hindsight, we know that was a poorly timed tweet. And I would like to, the first clip going into NBC panel mocks Kamala Harris for that tweet.
All right. Amid new revelations in the case involving the alleged attack on Empire actor Jussie Smollett, Democratic presidential candidates appear to be backing away from their initial statements. On January 29th, Senator Kamala Harris called the alleged attack on Smollett an attempted modern-day lynching. Here's what she said about that tweet yesterday.
Which tweet? What tweet?
About saying that it is a modern-day lynching, that...
Sorry.
Yes, Jussie Smollett.
Okay, so I will say this about that case. I think that the facts are still unfolding.
By the way, I just got to stop this. When any politician says, I'll say this about that, they're stalling for time. Like, I got to put the story together. This is great.
Sorry.
Yes. Jesse Smollett.
Okay, so I will say this about that case. I think that the facts are still unfolding, and I'm very concerned about, obviously.
Can we just say it? Because that's what we used to do on this show.
Okay.
Can we just say it?
Just say
We
it.
would just run tape.
I don't know if I want you to say it.
No, I just talked about first instincts.
Okay.
She looked like she actually didn't know about the tweet.
I know.
And like she was looking around at a staff member going,
What the?
Did
what?
we tweet that out? I'm not making any excuses for her whatsoever. It's the buck stops with her.
Okay, can we stop right there? Can we stop?
Sure,
Can we stop right there?
Sure.
He says we're not making any excuses for her, but makes the excuse that she didn't see in the tweet.
Oh, yeah. Well, what he's saying is it looks like a staffer did the tweet.
Right. And that's why I chose this as the intro clip into this whole segment of the show that we're going to talk about how the media has been handling Kamala with kid gloves and protecting her. The title of this actual clip on YouTube is MSNBC panel mocks Kamala.
Right.
But as you continue to listen, they defend Kamala by saying, oh, some staffer did it. But you can continue with the clip now.
We tweet that out. I'm not making any excuses for her whatsoever. It's the buck stops with her.
Yeah, and
I'm
that's
just
what you
saying.
can tell going through her
You
head,
can
I
look
think.
at somebody, and she did. Mike, it looked like she didn't even know that tweet was
Like,
going out.
are you kidding me?
Yeah, I got to say, though, you're correct.
But it's her responsibility.
It's what it feels like. We don't know.
If it goes
She
out on
did
her
as
Twitter
well as
feed,
you can
it's
do
her
with a humming a moment. Though.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
the turn to get more time
Are you
and the
kidding me?
laugh. And,
Yeah.
And
Are you kidding me? We tweeted that?
As a former Senate staffer, I would really throw the staff under the bus here because, that's one of those moments where
Well, you
the
really
senator was
think-
asked the question and she looks at the staff and it's like, hey,
Okay,
boss,
but you really think these candidates are tweeting 24/7? No. They have people tweeting for them, and let me just tell you, stop. Only tweet when you're tweeting.
Yes.
It's not going to work otherwise. You have people tweeting for you. Oh, it's not helpful, and something like that will happen. And if she did tweet that, she's going to have to completely roll it back and take ownership for it because we don't know what happened. Just like with many other cases we're talking about in this country where there are allegations, that's what they are. Accusations. We don't know what happened. And this is a problem. Everyone thinks mob rule is where we're going to go. It's not going to work in the elections. It's not going to work for Democrats.
That's not.
Just for background, the name of her bill, the bill she had with Cory Booker, was Justice for Victims of Lynching Act, legislation that would criminalize lynching for the first time in American history. The motion was passed in the House. And this article is from February 14th, 2019. And so that was a pretty fresh bill. I don't think it had passed at that time.
No, it hadn't passed at the time, and I think I know we're going back a little ways, but with this podcast we haven't covered this issue, but it's very important. With Jussie Smollett, for people that don't know, he left the noose around his neck.
Yes.
As a symbol of lynching. And I don't know if she knew about this or if she didn't know about this, but she took that opportunity to say, look, see, this is a modern day lynching in her tweet that now the MSNBC has said that her staffers allegedly must have written. So it's like, and like I said, going back, the title of this video says they're mocking her.
Yeah.
But it seems like they're defending her. And the reason why I wanted to use this as the jumping off point is, like, as I said before, we've seen the media protect her over and over again. And we even saw this with the Tulsi Gabbard.
Yes. The media immediately was happy to comply with her messaging, which was, oh, yeah, well, you work for Putin.
Right. So let's get into Tulsi attacks.
Okay.
So let's talk about the debates last night, because you had quite a moment with Senator Kamala Harris calling out her record as a prosecutor. I want to take a listen to what you said.
Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Congresswoman, did you get the answer that you were looking for from Senator Harris?
I got no answers, but more importantly, the American people, voters, got no answers. Senator Harris said very clearly on the debate stage last night that she's proud of her record, yet she failed to answer these very pointed questions about these parts of her record where, when she was in a position of power and responsibility where she could have been a champion for the people, instead she was the exact opposite. She was perpetuating the worst part of our criminal justice system that disproportionately impacts our black and brown brothers and sisters, poor people in California. And I'm concerned about the kind of leadership that she'll bring to the White House, because she's built her whole presidential campaign around being a champion for minorities, being a champion for the people. But once again, when you look at her record, and I'm not talking about a record from 30 years ago or 15 years ago, we're talking about her record in the very last job she had just a couple of years ago as Attorney General in California.
Yeah. Now, my understanding is we actually can't look at her record, as her record has been removed from the California District Attorney website.
Surprise, surprise.
Gee, you wonder why.
And to be honest with you, if we were able to look at the record, it has just been poo-pooed as she's just doing her job.
Yeah.
It's her job to lock up people, you know what I'm saying, as the top cop of California. But you can't be pro police reform and have the record that she does. And I would like to bring attention to something else that she has in her closet of many skeletons. Her first campaign she ran on, she used a flyer of, it could have been a black or brown person looking at as a gang member with tattoos and holding a pistol. So she has been very pro police, which, I mean, that's her choice. I mean, I have no issue with that. If that's where you stand. My issue with her is that she goes back and forth. She wants to be tough on her record, but then say, oh no, I wasn't really tough on my record. So what we see here in this next clip of the post-debate fact check is we start to see even local news spinning it to protect Kamala Harris.
KPX5 political reporter Melissa Kane has a look at the facts.
Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record.
Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard did not hold back at last night's debate, taking aim at Senator Kamala Harris's record as California's Attorney General. But we wanted to know, were Gabbard's claims true?
She put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana.
Did Harris put 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations? Well, as Attorney General, she would not have personally prosecuted drug cases. That 1,500 number was reported by the Washington Free Beacon. They claim that based on numbers from the Department of Corrections, at least 1,560 people were sent to state prisons for marijuana-related offenses between 2011 and 2016. That's when Harris was the Attorney General. And did Harris laugh about her own marijuana use? Well, here's a radio interview from February of this year.
Have you ever smoked?
I have.
Okay. Like
I inhaled. I did inhale.
Gabbard also seemed to refer to the case of death row inmate Kevin Cooper.
She blocked evidence that would have freed freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so.
It is true that as Attorney General, Harris refused to allow advanced DNA testing that could free Cooper. He's on death row for murdering a family in 1983. Governor Gavin Newsom ordered a full DNA testing earlier this year, but we don't know the results yet, so we can't say Cooper is an innocent man. In 2018, now Senator Harris changed her mind and did endorse the DNA testing.
Now, Tulsi Gabbard also accused Kamala Harris of fighting to keep California's cash bail system in place, which is true. But since becoming a senator, Harris has also introduced legislation to end the cash bail system.
Look forward to September's debate.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Soon enough.
Fewer people on stage.
Yeah.
More fun.
More fun.
Wow, they basically gave no information. That was good.
Exactly. It was just a whole bunch of talking, and it was
nothing.
Where she didn't try the cases herself. I mean, I think everybody knows she wasn't standing up in the courtroom and trying every one of those 1,500 cases. It's that she oversaw the system,
right?
That locked these people up. But as you see, even down, and that's why I wanted to use that clip, was even down to the local news. They're protecting her, and I think this is coming from a high place that they really want her to be the candidate.
Now, how does that work with? Is Joe Biden then just there as a placeholder? I mean, he certainly seems like it, but is he just a placeholder?
I believe so. I think they think, this is just my personal opinion, I think they think that Joe will gaff himself out. Eventually, he's going to drop the gaff of all gaffes, and he'll remove himself. And he has the same track record with her as far as the criminal justice system is concerned.
Oh, yeah.
Because he helped write the 94 crime bill.
Yes, the super predators bill, and there's a lot of other stuff.
Right, so he has the same negatives as her, and if they can get it down to those two on the stage.
Yes, in the final elimination round.
Right, but the problem is when you have people like Tulsi coming in and lobbing, these attacks that she lobbed at her, these hit hard. So where I want to head with this is one of the big mistakes she made was laughing about smoking weed.
Yeah, and
where she did that was the Breakfast Club, and you brought up Charlemagne the God.
Yes, on the last episode, I think.
On episode 1.
Oh, 1, yes, yeah. And
I started digging, like, whenever you start this with me, this is something you had to know about me. Whenever I start, like, something gets in my brain, I have to get to the bottom of it. So you asked me about Charlemagne the God, and he is in a very powerful position. And let's figure out why the Breakfast Club is required stop for presidential candidates.
The hosts admit they have an agenda, but they don't always have the same agenda.
Do you feel like white candidates get treated differently than black candidates in here?
Absolutely.
How so?
Here, as in the Breakfast Club?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can say that.
How do you figure? I don't necessarily think so.
I can say that because I'll tell you straight up, I'm not looking to elect any more white males, especially for president. I like somebody like Mayor Pete, but when it comes to those old white guys, they're not even going to be here to see the future. So why should they dictate policies on the future? And I don't trust them. It's hard. I think that white male entitlement and privilege has been a super detriment to this country. So yes, when these old white males come in this room and you can see the entitlement on them and you can see the privilege on them, yes, I do feel a different way about that.
And I would likely say I feel more of a connection with women and with people of color when they come up here.
I'm looking for somebody that's going to run this country the right way. I don't care if you're old. I don't care if you're black, if you're a woman. I just want you to run this country the right way.
Look, they've embraced the Breakfast Club. Democratic Party has embraced the Breakfast Club. Have they embraced the issues that the Breakfast Club listeners
have they embraced
embrace?
Black issues? I think that this is the first time we've heard this many candidates talk about a black agenda, this many candidates talk about reparations. I think for a long time they have been ignoring their most loyal fan base, which is black people. And I think that a great question that is being asked is, why do we continue to vote Democrat, for just because?
Wow. There's a lot that's loaded with stuff there. First of all, as an older white male, fuck you. All right, so I got it. Not wanted. I'm not as old as Joe.
I think that answers your question about Joe Biden.
Yeah, that totally answers it. And I even heard, look, I don't even mind if the person's old, person of color, a woman, anything but white. That excludes Joe, because the combo is bad. But yeah, I've only heard Charlemagne talk about, actually only about Kamala Harris. And then it's interesting that he says, or I don't know if it was his co-host, this is, we need candidates are talking about black agenda. Well, really? Kamala Harris isn't really talking about a black agenda. She's not really talking about reparations.
And I had a clip slip. And if anybody wants to create a jingle for that, I had a clip slip. Because she was interviewed by the Griot. And it's a very important clip. And I'll bring it or either link it somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But she was asked, are you going to do anything specifically for black people? And she said, no. What do you...
Wait, she was asked on The Breakfast Club?
No, on the Griot.
Oh.
The Griot interviewed her post nomination, announced her nomination, what she would, and what she was going. Would she do anything specifically for black people? She said no. And I don't have that clip. I don't know.
I'll take your word for it. I'll take your word for it. I'm sure she did it.
But what pisses me off is Charlemagne knows this. He didn't ask her anything about reparations. He didn't ask her anything about a black agenda. And then he lets her come on his show and float this BS bio of hers.
The bio.
Yes, welcome, Senator Harris. Now, for those who may not know, let us know a little about yourself. You're from the Bay Area, right?
I was born in Oakland.
Okay.
And I went to Howard. I went out of Howard to law school in California. I started my career in the DA's office in Oakland, California. And then I was elected, the first black woman to be elected a district attorney in the state of California, in San Francisco. I was there for 2 terms, and then I was elected Attorney General of California, making me the first woman and the first African-American ever elected as an Attorney General.
Hey, what the boy, she Jamaican too?
Yeah, man.
Wagwan,
I got to throw the Jamaican out there then, I guess.
Right, and she used first black, first African-American, and for the untrained ear. All right, let me give you some. This is where I come in with the inside baseball. The way she shaped her bio on this show was so disingenuous because she says, I was born in Oakland, Oakland being predominantly black. It has a lot of historical black importance. You have the Black Panthers that was
sure.
Huge in that community. And even he asked her about being affiliated with the Black Panthers. It wasn't really clippable. Because there was a lot of over talking, but she was like, "Oh yeah, they inspired me." I'm like, "Whoa, hold on, you're the top cop, and the Black Panthers."
Well, but Mo, this was also the interview where she said, "Oh yeah, no, I would smoke weed while listening to Tupac, who hadn't even released his album when she was apparently smoking weed."
Right, and the whole Breakfast Club came out with an excuse saying, "Well, I asked her one question and she said yes to another question that Charlemagne was asking her." Some BS.
Oh, okay.
But back to the inside baseball. The way she shaped this was, I was born in Oakland, then I went off to Howard. Howard University, for those not knowing, is a HBCU. It has a very
historically black college university.
Yes. Yes, historically black college and university. It has a very rich history. But the way she shaped that is she lived in. This is what will be heard when she said that. I lived in Oakland all my life.
It's not true.
We know this, but unto the untrained ear, or if the way she framed it or shaped it, I lived in Oakland all my life until I went to Howard. And then I came back to Oakland to fight for civil rights.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's kind of true. All my life, I was just living somewhere else for a while, wasn't it?
Right. If Adam, what is not true about that statement? If I, as a black person, was to take that as she stated it, what would be the problem with that statement?
What with I lived there all my life, but then I came back.
Her bio.
Yeah,
Yes.
when she came back, where did you come back from? Where you were all your life in Oakland?
Right. First of all, she didn't live in Oakland all her life, as she tried to make it seem.
Right.
She lived in Canada for for a major chunk of her life.
Yeah.
Second of all, she lived with her mother only, who was Indian. So she wasn't bathed in the blackness. And honestly, I think that Howard was a very this is just me being cynical, was a very calculated move by her if she had political aspirations to say, you know, I checked this off of my black card.
Right.
So that's where we're at with that. So, but with Charlemagne, he has not been he's been openly supportive of Kamala Harris and the fact that he will vote for her, as you see in this next clip.
If I had to vote for somebody right now today, it would definitely be Kamala Harris. And the reason it would be Kamala Harris is because I was liking Kamala before she even announced, you know, she was running for president. She was on Breakfast Club last year. And, you know, I had been following her for the past 2 or 3 years. And, you know, I just was intrigued by Kamala Harris for some reason. Like, I know people question her record as a prosecutor, but it was a lot of the things that she was doing in that space that I thought was very progressive, like the Back on Track program and, you know, making her officers wear body cameras, like stuff like that had me engaged, like, wow, who is this Kamala Harris? And of course, she's a black woman, you know, so I was definitely intrigued by that. That's just natural. Like, right. That could be my sister. That could be my, you know, aunt. That could be my, you know,
one of your daughters.
My daughters,
right.
You know what I mean? My friend, like, of course, black women. So it's like, I'm intrigued by that. So I was like, yo, she could be president. I always thought that. If you go back and watch our first interview, I told her, like, yo, if you run, you know, we'll support you. Now, I just had to have some questions about her record as a prosecutor, but she's a prosecutor. That's what prosecutors do.
Yeah, I'd have to say that when he says, you know, I'm as much a black woman as Kamala Harris is, in the way he's putting it, like, no, not
this
at all.
This is the slippery slope of what is black.
Blackness, yes.
Right, and this is why the term ADOS has been so powerful, because now you can't just use this blanket term of black, you know, and cloak yourself in it. And he said a lot in that statement. He said that I would question her record. Why didn't you? You had her on your show twice, and you never questioned her record. And then you go on to say, well, she did some good things too. But as Tulsi Gabbard says, she did these things up until in her last job. You know what I'm saying?
I may be jumping ahead, but what you're clearly laying out before us here, Mo, is that Charlemagne the God is compromised in some way.
Charlemagne the God is very compromised. Let's go to this is him defending her post the Tulsi Gabbard situation.
Out front now, Charlemagne the God. And I know we played that moment before. It was an important moment. You talked about how genuine she seemed. And now, obviously, you were talking about legalizing marijuana during that exchange. Mm-hmm. Congresswoman Gabbard has come out and put forth, these people that she put behind bars for marijuana. What did you make of that moment in the debate last night?
I didn't think it was a genuine moment, simply because if you want to attack, Senator Harris for, I guess, contributing to putting people in jail for drugs, then why wouldn't you attack Joe Biden too? If your purpose was to combat somebody for the war on drugs, I mean, the author of the 94 crime bill and the 88 crack laws was sitting right there in front of you. So I just thought it was kind of low-hanging fruit to go after Senator Harris for that. But, everybody should be questioned on their record.
Yeah, sure. Wow. Not only shilling for Kamala, but torpedoing Joe.
Exactly. And everybody should be questioned on their record, except Kamala.
Yeah, except when she's on my show. We don't have to do that. We'll ask about weed.
And that's what the Breakfast Club is supposed to be about, asking the tough questions.
But Mo, how twisted is it that, and I'm sure you're going to show us how Charlemagne is compromised, that the guy who was actually there to push her, defend against others, discredit Joe Biden, is the one who messed it up and had this ha-ha funny moment about the weed, which is now being used as the main bomb against her.
Right. That I think that's karma. I think that's just, when you don't take things seriously and you're light and, and loose, those kind of dumb questions come out and ask themselves.
Yeah.
And her laughing about it, that was bad.
Yeah.
So let's listen to him defend her a little bit more.
You know, her, Joe Biden on that stage were the big guns, so everybody was, coming up against them. I mean, and, Gabbard, I can't even pronounce her name. Is it Gabbard? She is at 0%.
So you like the swagger. You like the, I don't mean to be...
0% is a talking point that Kamala Harris raised herself right after that debate.
You like the, I don't mean to be immodest.
Yeah, it's the truth. Even though she should have had that swagger on the stage last night, because she was terrible on the stage last night.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Is she still your favorite, or?
Yeah, she's still my favorite simply because our current president is a criminal, and who better to go up against a criminal than a prosecutor? Donald Trump needs to be prosecuted.
Yeah, that is the campaign talking point. Wow. Yeah, Charlemagne's read in perfectly.
He has it all, and as I call him now, his new name is Charlemagne the Guard.
Yes.
That's his name.
Yes.
Because that's what he does. He is, I'm going to say this, I honestly believe that Charlemagne the God is her attack guard, and he's going to protect her with everything. And that makes me believe that Charlemagne is part of the Boule, aka, for those who don't know, B-O-U-L-E, Boule, which is nothing but the black skull and bones. That's not my statement. That's the author of the book that wrote the book on Boule. That's what they like to term themselves as, which we all know, or most of us know, is Skull and Bones is one of the groups linked in with the Illuminati. And I don't really like using that term because it's been so trivialized, trivialized, and watered down. But let's just hear Charlemagne talk about the Illuminati.
Hip-hop's obsession with the Illuminati is the fact that they can't figure out how to say when their own people are successful. Black people in general. A black man in America can't just be successful without, and this is amongst other black people. Other black people will say, oh, he must be in the Illuminati. Or, oh, he sold his soul. Or, oh, he must be gay. You can't just be talented. You just can't work your ass off. You can't just be smart. It has to be something else connected to your success because people want to try to justify their own failures.
Yeah, that's not just with the Boule. That's with all entertainment. All entertainment is that way. You've got to walk the ladder.
So this is where you come in. You're the expert on this topic. I don't want to get too sidetracked, but is being in that industry totally off of talent? I mean, you've been at the height of heights in the entertainment industry.
Well, let me answer that. No, yes, because I have not been at the height of heights because I never played the game. I just wanted to do my job. I never went to parties. Actually, 8 years MTV, no one ever offered me drugs. Well, weed, but nothing other than that. I never played with anything. And did I get invited? Was I asked to go places? Yeah, but I just never did it. So I never got any further than VJ, which, believe me, is pretty much, before we had podcasting, the lowest rung on the show business ladder. So, okay. But yes, I've seen many people ascend, and I've always seen the company they keep and understand pretty well how it works. It's never been for me.
Right. So as you say on the No Agenda podcast, the truth always wants to come out.
Yep, it does.
Right. So let's listen to part 2.
Nobody black would be in the Illuminati. We just not in their class. Sorry. Unless they use us for influence, which I could see. I can see them using us for influence, to influence, the youth and put certain images and things in our mind. I can see that. But other than that, no. And once again, there is not. If it is, it's the most terrible kept secret ever. If it's a secret society.
Oh, well, yes. And the images we put into the music videos is exactly what was done.
And the way he shapes the political narrative on his show every day. He just went there and he just clearly stated what he's doing now.
Yeah, literally what he's doing. Yes,
you're right. Well, I could see you using it for influence. Yeah, I could see that.
Now let me ask you a question. The Boule, you say it's Skull and Bones. Skull and Bones was Yale,
correct?
And I believe Kamala went to Yale. Did she not?
I'm not sure she went. I'm not sure that.
I thought she
think
was
she
at
went
Yale
from
Law
Howard.
School.
She went from Howard. I think some school in California. I think USC, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
I thought she maybe was a law degree.
I think that was Obama you're thinking about, and he was
well,
skull
for
and boned
sure.
up.
Yes. Okay. All right.
So let's listen to part 3.
And even, this is the last thing I'm going to say. When you look up the word Illuminati, though, all it means is the enlightened ones. That's all the definition of Illuminati means. It means the enlightened people of our society. So these are the people that are enlightened. What's wrong with being enlightened? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's wrong with having knowledge, having wisdom, having understanding? What's wrong with just being an enlightened person? If there is such thing as Illuminati, and that's what it is the enlightened people, yes, I want to be one of the enlightened people. That's what I read books for, to try to be one of the highly enlightened people of my society. Like, yes, every day I strive for knowledge. I want to be a better person. Like, what's wrong with being enlightened? Like,
So basically, on the record, Charlemagne is saying that he wants to be in the Illuminati.
if there was an Illuminati and it is of the enlightened people, why wouldn't I be? Why wouldn't I want to be? Why wouldn't I want to be where all the knowledge is at? Why wouldn't I want to know the world's secrets? Why wouldn't I?
Well, just do your best, son, and you'll be leveled up to the appropriate knowledge.
I think that was his application.
Yeah.
He was submitting his application
yes.
like, hey, I got influence.
Yeah.
I can influence young minds. I got this huge platform. If you need me, use me. And so he had, what was the farmer bro? I can't pronounce his name. The one who was raising prices.
Martin Scarilli.
Right. He was on the Breakfast Club. And I want you to listen to this exchange they had between him and Charlemagne.
That's a separate subject.
I was at Bridget Capital yesterday, which is a great hedge fund place.
Of course it is.
I didn't see nobody in there with masks on, a bunch of goons talking crazy the way you was talking.
Bridger, yeah, I wonder what you're doing there. Anyway, really?
Yes, I was, sir. I know people too.
Damn.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
That's some Illuminati shit right there.
Don't worry about me.
Okay.
I'm gonna buy me a $2 million album one day.
That totally changed blew up my brain right now.
He was just cleaning the toilet. No, I wasn't actually. But good.
I'm gonna sit. Got to take a different attitude now.
Hey, I should be listening to the Charlemagne show. This is on the air?
Yes. This is on the air. So Bridger Capital is it like some huge? I mean, maybe you know more than I do. I couldn't find much about them, but it's this huge
hedge fund.
Mm-hmm.
And when he said he was there, the farmer bro, this is what I'm gonna call him, was like, "What? Yeah. Really? Like, what the hell are you doing there?"
Well, he's been involved in a lot of weird stuff, so it wouldn't be out of character for him to be with other weird people.
Right. So I'm just saying the fact that was unprompted, that he even associated him with the Illuminati, quote unquote Illuminati, but as Charlemagne said, the enlightened.
What did he say about? I couldn't quite hear it. He said something about $2 million.
Oh, so okay. A little background on this. He brought him on the show because the farmer bro. How you say his name again?
Scarilli.
Scarilli. Okay, Scarilli. Bought this Wu-Tang album. There was only one copy of it.
Oh, right.
For $2 million.
Right.
And so he was perceived as being disrespectful to a few of the members of Wu-Tang, and that's why Charlemagne had him on. And right from the beginning, Charlemagne laid into him. And this is Charlemagne's style. So the contrast of how he's handling Kamala to how he usually handles guests. I mean, usually he's like up front, like right on it.
Yeah, cutting people down. Sure.
Right. So, and then the exchange happened that he said, "Oh yeah, I was over at Bridger Capital," and the dude was like, "You should have seen his face. He's like, his eyeballs got all big, and it was like, what?
That's funny.
What were you doing over there?" And then he's like, "Oh, that's some Illuminati crap right there," So all that to say, you remember that white privilege?
Yes.
What did Charlemagne call it? The old white man privilege?
Yes.
Charlemagne has been the recipient of this old white man privilege. The reason why I say that is, in this climate of Me Too, he has his own allegations, as you'll see in this next clip.
Charlemagne the God's rape allegations resurface, and we have an exclusive interview with his alleged victim. Hey guys, it's Allie for Hollywood Life, and Charlemagne the God's rape accuser, Jessica Reed, wants the case reopened 17 years after he was arrested for allegedly having sex with her when she was just 15 years old. Here are the details. Charlemagne was charged for sexual misconduct, and he ended up pleading guilty to a lesser charge at the time. Well, the victim, Jessica Reed, tells us how this all allegedly happened, revealing she met Charlemagne, who was in his 20s at the time, in 2001 through a mutual friend and a DJ. A few days later, Charlemagne called her and expressed his interest in her, but she told him she wasn't interested, and they agreed to just be friends. According to Jessica, Charlemagne invited her to his cousin's birthday party, apparently playing it off as his own to convince Jessica to pass by. Charlemagne reportedly picked her up and a friend and drove them to a party filled with guys and only 2 other women. Jessica alleges that at the party, Charlemagne spiked her drink with something, and she ended up passing out in the bathroom. While she was unable to move after she fell down, Jessica says she could see and hear Charlemagne and his friends laughing at her. She claims that Charlemagne's friends took her upstairs where they allegedly violated her. Then, she alleged, Charlemagne later came in the room, took his clothes off, got in bed with her, took her clothes off, and proceeded to have sex with her. Jessica and her friend got help from a stranger, and she eventually went to the hospital. Jessica tells us she felt betrayed by Charlemagne and was encouraged to speak out after seeing him trying to discredit the situation when he was speaking to DJ Academics. As of this recording, Charlemagne's reps responded back to us with a statement from his attorney, Michael Weinstein of Lavely Singer. Charlemagne was accused of a sexual assault. He never had sexual relations or any physical contact with the accuser, and even provided DNA to prove it. At the time of these claims, Charlemagne cooperated fully with authorities, and after the investigation, this charge against him was dropped. Charlemagne has spoken about this many times over the years in public, including in his book. While Charlemagne has empathy for all sexual assault victims, he cannot take responsibility for a crime he did not commit. But all right, as this story continues to develop, you guys can click right up here to get all the latest updates.
Okay.
Adam, had you heard of that story before you heard it here?
I don't think so. It's a 17-year-old story. I don't remember this at all.
But it spiked back up during the whole Me Too thing.
Right.
But it got no traction at all. And so they got me to wondering,
And you'd think that, a guy with 8 million listeners to his morning radio show, this would be an interesting target to take down.
Very interesting. Especially that he's been very politically incorrect. He's not, you know what I'm saying? He has stories about him using Spanish fly. I mean, this is not the only thing that, you're saying, he said out of the way. So like you said, he seems like a very big target to take down. Mm-hmm. But nothing.
So he's got some bulletproofness to him.
Why? And the question is why? When you see certain people not being taken down, why? In my personal opinion, I think he has a job to do. The way he carries himself, he's seen as a quote unquote real guy. He was on the show Guy Code on MTV.
Oh yeah.
So so he has this. He's not one of these he wouldn't be seen as a panderer. Right. So if his support for Kamala, if he supports Kamala, is seen as coming from real black men.
Got it.
Going back to what we talked about before in the previous shows, where are Democrats hurting it with their numbers? Black male voters and black voters overall. So he's a very valuable piece.
Yes, he's an asset that is meant to keep the black men in line with the messaging,
right?
And to promote, in this case, the right quote unquote black woman for them to lean towards.
Right, and then he could attack Joe as well, because it's not seen as like some kind of feminist movement, attack.
Quite honestly, anyone could attack Joe with both hands behind their back. There's so much to attack.
Right. So in investigating Charlemagne the God, I came across, or the guard, you know what I'm saying? I came across some interesting panel. And you were talking about last week about these think tanks.
Yes.
So on this panel was Charlemagne the God, a reporter from Forbes magazine whose name is Zach O'Malley Greenberg. It was T.I., rapper T.I., Tip Harris, and David Gross.
So, I know that name.
I knew you would recognize that name.
Yes, I do.
Would you like to explain to us how you recognize that name, Adam?
Yes. I have a weird habit of when someone is lauded by any group, certainly if they die, I always look into what they were doing. And it's kind of weird, but I've been hearing stories about, this rapper, this hip hopper, etc. And then I go look at the lyrics and like, what are you defending this guy for? And that's how it initially started. When Nipsey Hussle died, I knew nothing about Nipsey Hussle. I knew one little thing about him, and that was because he was involved in a cryptocurrency initial coin offering in Amsterdam around the same time I was involved in the crypto community in Amsterdam. So I knew that he was in, and these things are basically kind of scamish, where you get and we've had Snoop with some crypto stuff, and it was it's that market is kind of dead now. But the idea is you get someone of some fame to endorse it, you release your crypto coin, people see the celebrity, they buy the coin, everybody is already in the coin, so it starts to go up, then everybody massively sells it, dumps out, and then they've made their money. I don't think their coin actually ever launched, but that's how I knew Nipsey Hussle. And as I started looking into it, I'm like, there's a lot, why is everyone celebrating this guy? What, they had what was the venue in LA? They,
Staples Center.
Staples Center. Like, holy crap. So I started looking into the guy. And then I see, all these claims, because when people make blanket claims, I listen to it. He was really doing stuff for his community. And I start looking into it, and I'm like, doing stuff for his community? It seems like he was actually working with a bunch of, with this Grohl guy, these big real estate developers, and they were taking over stuff. And when I saw that they intended to buy the strip mall where his shop is, where he was gunned down, it wasn't to build affordable housing. It was to build new retail and, new apartments and residential units. And I'm like, hold on a second. So I start looking a little further, and it seems like this is something that's going on with a number of people. DJ Khaled, I think Jay-Z's name came up, and then they were all looking to buy a Viceroy property. It's a very upscale hotel. I'm like, no. This seems like the guy's either being used or he's in some cabal. And that's how I know the Grohl name.
Okay, so at the same time you were doing your investigation, I was doing my own independent investigation.
Yeah, we didn't know each other at all.
We
you had heard the show, but I didn't know. We didn't have
any connection whatsoever. Well, as you said, whenever somebody's put on a certain level, and this, let me say this first of all, I have to say this disclaimer. This is not anything against Nipsey Hussle. He was tragically, taken. But we have to look and see why they stopped broadcast television to show his funeral. Only certain people are put on that level.
Yes.
It's been stated that he was given the Michael Jackson funeral.
Yeah, you're right. Very, very similar.
Right. Very, very, very similar. So I started digging, and at the same time I was listening to your show, I was like, we're on the same path, because you brought forward the same facts that you just laid out there. So right after that, I think the word was starting to bubble under the surface, and Jay-Z comes out and convinces people via freestyle that gentrifying your own hood is a good thing.
Oh, yeah. It's like, we might as well do it before the white man does.
Right. So this is what this panel, this think tank, and that's why I say I'm going to show you balance. This is what the male boot side of the Boule looks like. They're trying to convince people that coming in, bringing big capital into the hood
is somehow good for the community.
Is a good thing. So the L-shaped plaza that you spoke about that him and David Gross bought for a couple $1 million. I first found this article when I was doing my digging. Forbes magazine, and the title was "Inside Nipsey Hussle's Blueprint to Become a Real Estate Mogul." And this was written on February 20th. This is prior to his untimely death. And in there, they state that they bought the plaza and they were going to tear it down. And within 18 months or so, they were going to knock everything down. This is quote the article, and rebuild a 6-story residential building on top of a commercial plaza where a revamped Marathon store will be anchored, or will be the anchor tenant. And I actually made a video about this on my YouTube channel titled Jay-Z and Gentrification. And I go into this whole article, Jay-Z saying we should use eminent domain. But on that panel, let's listen to T.I. explain gentrification.
I want to ask a question. Why do you think other people see gold in our neighborhoods and we don't?
Well, I think because it's by design. You know, I do believe that at a certain point in time, there's a strategy by the powers that be that sit in ivory towers and look down at all the poverty that exists and says, well, we'll just let that go on for so long. Okay, well, then we'll tear down the projects and we'll push people out to the outskirts, and then we'll get enough people to come in and invest our money on things like stadiums and domes. And because most of the stadiums and domes are right across the street from poverty-stricken areas. So once they build these stadiums and domes and billions of dollars are being ingested into this community, well then there's nothing left to do but come by and buy all of the blighted property in the area and fix it up, and before you know it, you got, you know, white people walking their dog down the street. You know what I'm saying? And that's when you know your property just went up. You know?
Now, isn't this exactly what Jay-Z did with the Nets?
This is exactly what he did in Brooklyn. They used him as he was the blueprint. They put him up front for the Brooklyn Nets.
Which is, I think if you asked anybody on the street, they'd say, "Oh yeah, Jay-Z owns it." But I think he owns like 0.001% or some really small.
I think it was like 0.25% of the Nets.
Yeah.
But they used him. They set him courtside.
Yep.
Like he was calling the shots. They used him because he was from Brooklyn. In a similar fashion, how they used Nipsey and Crenshaw.
Now, this is actually very, very important in my mind. Is the way, and it's entertainment people in general. It's not a black or white issue. People have perceived success and wealth, and a lot of that is controlled by others much higher on the literal pyramid, and they'll use that ultimately for their gains. But it's disingenuous, and it happens across the board, where where people think the Kardashians, I think, is a very good example.
Mm-hmm.
What's the Kylie? Oh, she's worth $1 billion. You ask anybody, yep, she's worth $1 billion. No, no, she's rich. She ain't that wealthy. And it's because people who are really running the show really own the properties.
Right. So, and this is what they do. They take, not only can you advertise for a product, but you can advertise an idea.
Yes.
And this idea has been, Jay-Z was the first to do it, as far as using a black face to bring gentrification in. Because if you use the businessmen to do it, you'll get pushback.
Right.
But the way they shape it is these guys are giving back to the hood. Now, who will be living in that 6-story apartment building that Nipsey Hussle and his business partner was building? And, one small fact: when you go look at the paperwork, guess whose name is not on the paperwork?
Nipsey Hussle.
Exactly.
Yeah, that figures.
It's proven, and it's so much so that David Gross has been getting death threats over this because people feel like he used Nipsey Hussle.
Why? When it's so obvious that this happens, why do people still buy this? They not care? And especially people who are living in the neighborhood that is about to be gentrified, and Jay-Z admits it, says it. says, "Hey, we got to do it before," and he's in the process of doing it in Brooklyn.
It's not the people that live in the neighborhood that are for it. It's you shaping popular opinion of the people outside.
Right.
That where the people that you sell your products to, as we know, rap music is not majority bought by black people.
No.
It's bought by
teenage white girls.
Exactly. So with that the case, they got to make sure they keep it real, quote unquote, keep it real, so that you don't seem like you're selling out. So you keep your fan base all the while pushing these capitalistic ideas that will victimize the people that live in those neighborhoods.
Right.
And that's what they do. So let's listen to why they use Nipsey Hussle.
I think one of the things I want to point out, and you've seen it woven through the discussion in today, but there's a lot of concern about the opportunity zones, that money will come into the community and overwhelm the community and push people out. The great thing about our opportunity is that it identifies the players and the value in the community and tries to get the money behind them. And so we take someone like Nipsey Hussle, who's been demonstrating his skill, his value, what he can bring to the neighborhood, and it gets the resources behind him so that he can own Slauson Plaza. And let me just point out Slauson Plaza. The Olympics are coming to Los Angeles in 2028. Every person that takes mass transit from LAX has to make a train stop at Slauson Plaza. Wow. Every single person, bar none. So that's the kind of information we try to, again, pair together and say, this is an opportunity.
Now, remind me, who is this speaking?
That is the councilman of that district.
Wow. Wow.
He was also,
I didn't know this about that being the stop. That's fantastic.
Right. So I covered that in my video if you guys want to go check that out. And they even mentioned it in the article. This is not new. It says, in the meantime, a light rail line is rising to link Crenshaw, which is crucially qualifies as a tax advantage opportunity zone, to Los Angeles International Airport. So this thing is sitting on a gold mine.
Wow.
A gold mine, especially with the 2028 Olympics coming.
Now, to be fair, and I don't know anything about the area other than the strip mall, it would push people out, but it would by default also bring a lot of money into that very neighborhood. I mean, I can see how you can turn around and say, yo, but it's going to bring money in. It's just you'll have to move back a little bit, but I can see where that would work.
If you look at my video, you'll see how they use the rail system to put people out of business that were, the mom and pop shops in that community.
That's called progress, Mo.
Right. The other thing is that you cover on the No Agenda show is, where did these people go? Crenshaw was the last stop for a reason.
Yeah.
After that, you're living in RVs, tents, so once you take the last refuge for poor people, and like I said, I'm not anti-capital, I'm not money making, but my problem is the hypocrisy.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing I said in this statement that I just read: tax advantage opportunity zone. Are you familiar with that?
I no, but I can surmise that it means if you commit to putting money into a certain area, then you will have no tax or tax breaks, maybe even a refund based upon what you're doing. Happens all the time. It's similar to Amazon coming into New York and getting all kinds of tax breaks.
Correct. And we're going to get to the punchline here, but let's listen to T.I. on the war on drugs.
It's giving us a chance to pass on more to our kids than just trauma, and I think that, we come from environments where you have people that are dealing with a lot of pain and they're dealing with a lot of hurt. And I think environment plays a big role in that. The conditions that you grow up in play a big role in that. A lot of these brothers and sisters are just products of their environment. So I think when you're creating something like our opportunity, where you're keeping the money in the community and you're providing opportunities for the community, you're making people feel like better versions of themselves, and if you feel like a better version of yourself, if you truly, love yourself, and you truly value yourself and appreciate your community, then then you'll love, value, and appreciate your brother and sister. And I think that's how you stop, these generational cycles of pain. Because I think that all we end up doing is redistributing pain to people that look just like us. And I think this is just one of the ways to break the cycle.
I agree. And I don't think there is enough consideration given to the effects of the so-called war on drugs, the crack epidemic, mass incarceration, and the project systems that have plagued these communities that are now seemingly investment dreams for people who didn't have to withstand the conditions of these environments.
That's right.
Huh. Thanks for paving the way. Now get out.
The problem with that statement is a couple issues here. On one side of the conversation, you have Charlemagne the God, or the guard. He's saying he's protecting a woman that supported mass incarceration. Yep. He's done it two times in a row. He was pro Hillary Clinton in the general election 2016, which we all know her role in mass incarceration. If you want to go conspiracy theory, we know what the function of Mena, Arkansas was.
Yes, that's where apparently the drugs were flown and the arms were flown for but the drugs came in for the Iran-Contra deal and then were sold on the streets of Los Angeles.
Correct. And both of these guys are diehard Democrats. On the other side of the conversation, you have Mr. T.I., who is one of the founders of what you call trap rap, which is nothing but glorifying the selling of drugs, the killing of young black men. And I want to say this. I enjoy rap music just like everybody else. You listen to it like you watch a mob movie or anything else. But when you perpetuate it like a lifestyle to be achieved after, that's the problem I have. And then you want to say, oh, we need to blame the war on drugs. Dude, they were kicking down doors to take out people like you.
Right.
You're saying your music is the one that was supporting this lifestyle, so much so this guy even opened a trap music museum that looked like a trap house. And what people don't know what a trap house is, it's the same thing as a crack house. And so you had you got the stove with them cooking crack up and all these things, and you're monetizing this negative behavior in our community that tore it down. But then you want to turn around and profit off the results of it.
So where is T.I. in this? I mean, what side of the fence is he on?
He's on the side of the money. He's going to be he's going to be the face of Atlanta.
Right.
I mean, what they did was they found these different hubs. You have Jay-Z in New York. You have Nipsey in California. You have T.I. in Georgia. I'm sure they have somebody in Miami or Florida or somewhere. All these opportunity zones. Now, let's. You know what? I've killed that horse. I mean, I don't want to keep going down the war, but the war on drugs, like I said, dude, you're the one that you're saying that glorify this lifestyle that these young men go out. And we talked about how the men were taken out of the household, and these young men without fathers look up to these rappers, and you've profited off this lifestyle. And let's just be honest, T.I. has been very he's benefited from some windfalls from the justice system as well. He was caught with an array of guns, being a convicted felon, and got like 2 years, a year or 2 years. Tom, come on. So I mean, when we look at these people, we got to start asking why are they getting off, and then they turn around and push these political motives.
So the first thing I'd ask is, who was the district attorney where he was convicted of the weapons charge?
That's a good question. And why was he given such a lenient sentence? Well, I don't want to see anybody locked up. But then when you get out, now you become this political voice. So much so, I skipped over something. I just want to go back. The word opportunity zone. Now you laid out, you said it seems like a tax break, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It is a tax break. And guess where it came from? Trump's 2017 tax plan.
Whoa.
I would drop my mic if it wasn't, you say, on the stand.
Yeah. It would break if you did it.
Right.
But, wow. Okay.
So these guys are out here benefiting off of Trump's opportunity zones. At the same time, they're anti-Trump. You're saying speaking to the masses, but they're getting rich off of his, off of his tax cuts. It's
wow, that is
you
very
have
interesting.
no moral standing, and that's why I'm so animated about this, because it pisses me off so bad. Let's just listen to T.I. Talk about Donald Trump. If you support Donald Trump,
okay.
You know,
sorry, this one.
I seen you taking some shots at Trump, making a statement.
Take those shots.
Well, you know what I mean. You know, you're telling all your fans, don't mess with him.
If he misuse and abuse his power to the point where he uses his money and his influence to tell people to do things that are harmful to my people, well, I just want him to know how frowned upon that is in my community, starting with me. If I stand on a certain platform and I use my money and my influence to tell all the people that follow me, hey, guess what? If you go and hurt those people, I will pay your legal fees.
Right.
I will take care of you. Hey, if you do this for me, I will make sure that you're straightened out. If I do that, you know, that's no different than, you know, than how they view the leader of some of the organized crime syndicates. So I mean, you know, what he's doing is really illegal.
If a Trump supporter was a fan of yours, would you let him buy your album, or would you say I don't want your money?
I mean, if he supports all of his actions, man, right and wrong. I mean, if he supports all of his actions, I honestly and knowledgeable of how he feels, I don't want him to buy my music. I'd rather he didn't, because I just don't think that's not the road that I travel down. You know, some things is more important than money to me.
Huh. Well, of course, we've got to denounce the evil orange man, but at the same time take full advantage. And it sounds like specifically targeting the use of the tax break opportunity zone.
And did you hear what he said? He said, if you use your platform, this going to affect my people. You know, dude, you're using your platform to affect our people negatively. What are you talking about? These people live in these poor neighborhoods because they have nowhere else to go.
Now, let me ask a question. Yes. I want to understand these opportunity zones. I never really looked into the Trump tax breaks too deeply because I don't think I qualify for the good stuff. Are these malintent, these opportunity zones, or is the idea good but being misused, or is what do you know about them?
I'll let Trump explain opportunity zones to you.
We want all Americans to share in our great economic renewal. That's why governors in all 50 states and the territories have designated 8,700 neighborhoods as opportunity zones. Hard to believe, 8,700. Household income in these communities is 37% less than the median income in a state as a whole, so it's 37% down, and we're catching them fast. In order to revitalize these areas, we've lowered the capital gains tax for long-term investment in opportunity zones all the way down to a very big, fat, beautiful number of zero. Zero.
All right. Please tell me then that these opportunity zones are that the rich real estate developers are not eligible directly to do something, but the intent was to have the community themselves develop, and then it would make sense that these opportunity zone leeches want to get someone from that community to be their figurehead. Is that how it fits together?
That's how it fits together.
Damn. That is cynical. And
the thing is if you want to be, capitalistic, if you want to make money, that's your thing. But you can't say you're for your people and turn around and use Trump's tax cuts, who you say is the boogeyman, who is a bad guy. You don't tell black people how to take advantage of these things until they're all sold up. Right. I mean, all the properties. We're in 2019 now when they start talking about these things. The tax bill went through in 2017. 2 years later, all the good property's been bought up.
Right.
So it's just, it just drives me crazy And this is why I
just want to make sure.
Okay.
Do you know the stipulations about these opportunities? What I'm worried about now that I hear this is that these opportunity zones were always meant for rich developers, i.e., Donald Trump's and other cities, to go around and gentrify everything. Or do you know if there were stipulations that you couldn't just do that as a regular developer? I mean, do you know any of the background of that?
No, it's the Wild Wild West. If you got money and you want to invest in the opportunity zones, and like let's just go. Not all opportunity zones are created equal.
Yes, got it.
On the one hand, you've got places like Puerto Rico. Basically, the entire island is an opportunity zone, and they are clearly in need of fresh investment. On the other hand, you've got places like the affluent D.C. suburbs, right outside of Washington, the neighborhood where local officials are trying to lure Amazon's HQ to. That is also an opportunity zone. So that report from Brookings found that of the 8,700 opportunity zones across the country, 11% have poverty rates that are actually below the national average. College towns like the one around Texas A&M and the University of Southern California, they also qualified. So the report questions whether this program will really direct money to distressed communities or whether it's just another tax haven for the rich. Now, the Treasury Department says that it intentionally gave states a lot of flexibility to choose which neighborhoods make the cut. And supporters argue they had to strike a balance and look for places that need the investment but also have market potential. Guys, investors are just now starting to raise money and understand how this program is going to work. 2019 will be the real test of whether the cash gets to communities that need it. Back over to you.
Okay, so regardless, the smart way, the smart money to shield themselves from criticism got a lot of these guys and brought them in and said, okay, here's your cut, and now it's all you, and you're great for your community, and let's go and do it.
Yep, that's how it works. And the other thing is, if you listen closely in that clip, only 11% of the opportunity zones are in poor neighborhoods.
Oh yeah.
So hold on, and this is why I get pissed.
But that was the governor's choice, if I understood the clip properly.
But this is where I get, a little pissed at Trump and Ben Carson.
Right, and Carson would be involved in that as Secretary of HUD.
This is HUD. This is all HUD.
Wow.
What they did was they took the easy way out and said, states, you pick where the opportunity zones are. We won't push back. I mean, so it's like, so everybody's, absolved of any blame, and nothing goes to help the majority of what this has been labeled as helping poor people. And the poor neighborhood that actually help, the people will be displaced. So it's just going to be totally negative for poor people. So, I mean, like you said, if there's nothing there, they won't call it an opportunity zone, and then the money won't flow there.
Right.
And this is where I get pissed at back at Jay-Z and T.I. and these people. Only 11%?
Yeah.
I'm big on percentages. It goes with the reparation thing. You can't give me 10%. You're saying I'm not going to take the kind of cut.
Right.
You can't say this is opportunity zones and only 11%. And I know why they use 11%. So you can say over 10%. It's talking points. I know how this game works.
Yeah.
That's a weird number to use 11%, but this money is not going to flow where it needs to help. At all.
So it was always a failed program to start with.
It was a vehicle for when Trump allowed the rich to bring their money back on shore.
Right.
They needed a tax shelter. And they said, what tax shelter can we create? Great idea.
Opportunity zone.
Opportunity zones. The left, not the left, but the guys that's supposed to be anti-Trump love it because it's a great word, opportunity. They're throwing this word opportunity around like change in 2008. It's like, oh yeah, opportunity for everybody. Yeah, no, this only benefits people with capital gains. And I had a conversation with one of my friends. He's in the real estate. He's an entrepreneur. And he doesn't make enough capital gain to take advantage of this. And if he wanted to take advantage, I wouldn't have a problem with him because he's not out here preaching in the streets about being, being a social justice warrior and a change agent.
Right.
He's trying to make good on on his investments. I don't have any problem with that. It's the hypocrisy I have a problem with. And
somehow I got a feeling that hedge fund that Charlemagne was talking about may be involved in some of these opportunity zones. Am I feeling that right, Mo?
And you don't even have to invest. Here's the other thing, and you'll see this in my video. You don't even have to invest your money into the zone itself. They create what's called an opportunity fund. So it's a fund is created, and you invest your money into that fund.
Yeah. And
then the thing, here's the kicker. Only 30%. And now look at this. Listen to these percentages. I know I'm a little animated today, but this really gets into my skin. So 11% of all opportunity zones are in poor neighborhoods. And then 30% of your business only has to take place in an opportunity zone.
I'm laughing, but it's so cruel.
Right. Who are we helping here? And you know what? I don't even know if it's a good thing or a bad thing if only 11%, because Jesus Christ, if it was 50 or 60%, you have
wiped out.
Homeless people everywhere.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
All right. So let's look at the concerns of opportunity zones.
Well, the government is sweetening the deal for investors who put their money into San Diego's most underserved neighborhoods. It's a potential solution to our housing crisis that we're exploring as part of our Making It in San Diego initiative.
Our 10 News reporter John Horn explains why longtime residents are concerned that plan could backfire.
This intersection overlooks much of the Colina del Sol neighborhood here in the City Heights area. It's a part of San Diego that Zillow says is ripe for new housing.
It's been expensive to live here, but it's expensive to live anywhere.
Tommy Barnett has called Colina del Sol home for the past 9 years. The price, like everywhere else, going up.
It's starting at 12 or 13 for a one bedroom.
Still, the government designated this area as an opportunity zone, or as the IRS puts it, economically distressed. Our region has about 30 of these zones, most in the city of San Diego's inner core.
There's nothing around. There's no areas for you to be able to buy or place any new building on it.
That now appears to be changing. The Opportunity Zone program, part of 2017 tax reform, offers tax breaks to investors who inject their dollars into these neighborhoods. But instead of making life more affordable, Zillow says home prices in Opportunity Zones grew 20% in a year.
There are still as many questions as there are answers out there.
Eric Tilkemeyer does economic development in City Heights, also an opportunity zone. He's working with policymakers to make sure the new investments benefit the community.
We're park deficient. Our sidewalks are deplorable in a number of neighborhoods. The walkability is not what it should be. The challenge is all of those same improvements tend to cause gentrification.
In other words, keeping residents like Barnett from being priced out of their own neighborhoods. John Horn, 10 News.
So I looked up, I live in Austin, Texas. Opportunity zones in the city of Austin. There are 21 census tracts designed as opportunity zones in the city of Austin. And this is something that you may not know, but when an Austinite reads, the majority of zones are located to the east of Interstate 35, which is where I live, and I see what's going on here. Bingo! Makes total sense.
And just to bring it full circle, now you see why I am hesitant when people say government programs.
Yeah.
When they talk about reparations. No.
Right. You could even fold this into a reparations assistance program.
Exactly. And this is how now we back where we started. This is when Kamala Harris, black, what was it? The housing program she had, you covered it. That was going to help black people that she spoke about, the Essence Festival.
It's the yes, it's.
I know I caught you flat-footed. I'm sorry about that.
No, it's okay. It was the low income something, but it turned out it was like a combined had to be under $100,000 of income, and that would be, I think, to help people purchase first homes. Or I'm a little shaky on it, but I do remember the bar was set very high at $100,000, which would mean no way is that just for poor people.
So what you have is two college graduates just coming out of college, or one college graduate that's, gainfully employed, that falls just under that bar.
Yep.
And they'll come in and buy a condo in these gentrified areas. You've talked about it before, how the people are okay with living with next to nothing. These micro apartments, open air dorm rooms.
Oh my God! It's right in South Austin on Congress Avenue. They're building micro apartments. It's right near the main hub of the city. They're going to be, I think, something like 400 square feet or something.
Right. This and I covered that in my video. Like I said, I've been on this beat for a minute, but it's just funny that it popped up. Charlemagne's on this panel, this think tank, and this is what the Boule looks like, folks. You have politicians, entertainers, media, and you have white backing money. Forbes is one that hosted it, and for the females, you had politicians, media. They didn't have any entertainers. But they showed you how important the entertainers were when they said that Beyonce and Oprah and them would replace Jesus and MLK.
Yes.
So you see these, and it was backed by the Brookings Institute. So you see these large, majority white groups funding how Black people should think. And this is what gets me. This is not for your everyday working class Black person.
No.
This is to get us in line to vote the way they want us to vote, to think the way they want us to think. While the top 10%, Boule, talented 10th, whatever you want to call them, profit off of steering us the way they want to go. And this is why I do this show, Adam. This is why I do the show, because it gives me a platform to, one, break down the media. I've learned a lot from you and John on how to do this, to take what the media does and turn it around on them, and really break it down. And two, to make people show people that have power. If you know how they're going to come at you.
Yes, and you really blew my mind with this one, because if there's anything I follow very closely, it's chronic unhoused. I don't like saying homeless, because a home, if you look in the dictionary, has nothing to do with a shelter. It is literally your community, your people. So you can be living under I-35 and that can be your home. But the unhoused, and I've been to San Diego, I've been to San Jose, I've lived in San Francisco, I've lived in Los Angeles. It appears to me now, with taking all this information into account, that a lot of the chronic homelessness we're seeing, to use that word, could possibly be from these opportunity zones.
They're economic refugees.
And looking at some important dates, there's a December 31st, 2019, which I guess is phase one of the opportunity zone. And then there's 2021, 2026, 2028. Wow. That's mind-blowing. So in almost directly, this tax cut could be fueling people living in cars and vans and RVs.
You know what? And
although they're not white in Austin, they're not Black in Austin. The unhoused are predominantly white.
This is important, and this is another reason for this show. We have to get past. And I know I'm not living in a colorblind society. We've had this talk before. We need a need for Black people. We need a need for white people. We don't need to be this homogenous society. I like, pockets of different cultures, and we all contribute what we bring to the table. But we have to realize we have a common enemy, and the common enemy is the elite.
Yeah. They
look at us as an inconvenience, and anytime they can make $1 or 1/10% more profit, it doesn't matter who it impacts. Move is how they look at it. Pack up and move.
Yeah.
And where it really hits home at is if you have, say if, in my case, if my parents owned a home and, and they left it to me, they willed it to me, and it was $100,000, and now it's opportunity zone drives it up to $250,000. Would I sell? I don't know.
Right.
But when you sell that, or you have an apartment building, it's in this, and and you're doing Section 8 in these programs. When you sell it, where do those people go? These neighborhoods, whether it's white or black, is the last stop. And me and my friend, I know we might be going a little long, but I just want to make this one last point. It's like Monopoly. How the board is set up. And the first 2 stops on Monopoly are the dark purple pieces. But when you get hotels on those, you have nowhere to stay. Right. If you're poor in the Monopoly game, you just pray.
It's a great analogy for life, isn't it? Really...
Right. You just pray that you don't land on anywhere you can afford, but there's nowhere to land except jail or free parking. That's it.
Wow, how that mimics life is just frightening. Frightening. Mo, thank you so much for opening my eyes to that. I got to spend the rest of the day looking at these opportunity zones and where they are. This is blowing my mind. It really is.
I appreciate every Monday we have, Adam.
Yeah,
because it's opportunity.
Yes. Well, we got our own opportunity zone, and we'll do it again for you next Monday with the next installment of Moe Factz with Adam Curry. Thanks, Mo. Talk to you next week.
All right. See you next week, Adam.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.